What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. Yeah. What's good? This is your boy, Tone DeShields the second. You guys are locked in on your dose of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. You guys know the vibes. Y'all know the energy. Y'all know where my body be. You feel what I'm saying? Make sure you guys smash that like button before you get too comfortable. You know your job. You know your job. Very easy to come by. Very easy to do. Kick your feet up. Get your beverages. Get your snacks. If you're on your lunch break, hey, take a load off. But before you get too comfortable, you got to hit that like button, and then you got to follow it up with the hype button, right? And I think you only get about maybe 2 or 3 hype button usages a week. So make sure, I hit the mark. Make sure I'm one of those channels you decide to support with the hype button. It's a new algorithm thing. It's a new apparatus that YouTube is pushing right now. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you guys hit the hype button. On top of that, and most importantly, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel and the notification bell is turned on so you know whenever your boy goes live. Again, I'm your guy, Tone DeShields the second, and I do not take my position for granted. I love talking about the Eagles. I love talking about the NFL. I love talking about it, especially with you, because I feel like for the most part, you and I, we see this thing similarly. We see it similarly. Now, are there moments where we have the same goal in mind, but our perspectives are a little different? That's going to happen. That's going to happen. And you and I are going to have to discuss that. We're going to have to be adults, be respectful, and break down this team as we see it. And we're going to have to brainstorm and think tank about how we feel about this Philadelphia Eagles team. And I think you and I should feel fantastic about them right now. I think you and I should feel great about where the Eagles stand. Because over the course of their bye week, over the course of them taking this time off, week 9 was very eventful for them. Lions lost to the Vikings. The Green Bay Packers lost to the Carolina Panthers. Cowboys lost to the Cardinals. Giants lost to the 49ers. and the Commanders lost to the Seahawks. Meanwhile, the Eagles added edge rusher Jaelan Phillips. They added cornerbacks Jaire Alexander, who plays the outside, and Michael Carter, the second, who plays the inside. A lot has happened the past couple weeks for the Philadelphia Eagles. Per positive, trending in the right direction, right? But they still got to play the game. You still got to have your guys healthy and ready to go. You still got to prepare and win the game within the lines. Because so far the Eagles are checking the boxes outside the lines. But inside the lines, within that grass, the Eagles got to do their job at the end of the day. You don't win the Super Bowl based off of being a paper tiger, right? Being champions on paper. That's not how this works. So it's going to be important for a guy like Jaelan Phillips to live up to expectations. He's in a contract year. He has a lot riding on this season, like everybody else. Jaire Alexander, can he find a resurgence? Can he rebuild himself? Right? Michael Carter II, same thing. They're both relatively young guys, young players, but can they rediscover what many feel like they've lost? So that's kind of what we're going to be watching going into this Green Bay game. Obviously, we're going to be watching the offense, but I think we're going to have our eyes glued to the defense because I think the Eagles defense they have a massive opportunity in front of them. And they can make a statement. I think this Eagles team can make a statement on Monday night. National television, the world is watching. Well, whoever can actually watch. YouTube TV and ESPN still haven't figured out their situation yet, but whoever's going to have the opportunity to watch the game, it's going to be a big game. All eyes are going to be on that Packers team. All eyes are going to be on that Eagles team. This is probably going to be one of the most highly analyzed, highly criticized matchups on the NFC side because now we're midway through the season. Now we're starting to see exactly what teams are. And this is the point of the season where teams start to pull away or start to sink. So we're going to learn a lot about the Eagles throughout this stretch, right? You got Green Bay. Then you got Detroit. Then you got Dallas. Then you got Chicago. Then you got the Chargers. So you have a very, very challenging 5-game stretch coming up. And I think the success of the Eagles, in particular on their defensive side, it starts with that D-line. It starts with the trenches. Because you got Jordan Love coming up. You got Jared Goff coming up, right? You got Dak Prescott, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, right? That's a pretty talented group of quarterbacks. Then when you get to the running back position, you got Josh Jacobs coming up. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery coming up, right? You got Javonte Williams, who's playing well for the Cowboys overall. You got DeAndre Swift, who's been playing very well for the Chicago Bears. And, the Chargers, they've kind of lost their running game due to injury. But at some point, they should get some of those guys back. But they've gotten weaker at the tackle spot, right? They've gotten weaker on left tackle and at right tackle. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater out for the year. So they're vulnerable in their own right. But keeping it on Green Bay, the Eagles have a massive opportunity in front of them to, I don't want to say shock the world because the Eagles are not some underdog. Well, according to sports books, the Eagles are like 2.5 point underdogs in this game. But that's barely anything. That's a pick'em game, if you ask me. Green Bay got that because they're at home. That's about it. So this Eagles team is built to run with and beat anybody. That's not a question, right? We're not talking about the Eagles as if they're chopped liver or as if they're just lucky to be here. They've put in the work. They've built up the equity, not just organizationally, but personally, right? They built up the equity in the league. They built up the equity amongst the fan base. No matter what NFL analyst tries to say, no matter what they say about the Eagles, right? No matter what analysts try to say anything about the Eagles, it doesn't matter because the proof's in the pudding. The paperwork don't lie. The paperwork does not lie when it comes to the Eagles. You can feel whatever you want about the Eagles being Super Bowl champions. You can feel whatever you want about Jalen Hurts. You can feel whatever you want about A.J. Brown. You can feel whatever you want about this defense and the coaching. You can feel whatever you want. But at the end of the day, the paperwork don't lie. The paperwork say, hold on, Jalen Hurts. The paperwork says Jalen Hurts is 52 and 22 as a starter in his career. That's what the paperwork says. The paperwork says Jalen Hurts is 6 and 2 on the season. The paperwork says Jalen Hurts is completing 70% of his passes, on pace for a career high. The paperwork says 15 touchdowns passing. You know, when it comes to Nick Sirianni, the paperwork don't lie. The paperwork says a head coach who has a career 54 and 22 record in the regular season, a career 6-3 record in the playoffs, a Super Bowl ring, 2 NFC title trophies, the Lombardi. The paperwork does not lie. So, come Monday night, the Green Bay Packers, they're going to have a rude awakening, because I think, like I said, it begins with this Eagles defensive line, this new look Eagles defensive line. But before I get into that, let's discuss the injury report. It recently came out. We've got some updates in regards to injury, and Cam Jurgens has not practiced all week with the knee injury. Remember, the Eagles lost Cam Jurgens in that Vikings game. I want to say they lost him in the Vikings game, and Brett Toth had to come in, and then Brett Toth had a phenomenal Giants matchup as well. So Brett Toth has been building some equity at center. He's not a guard. He's not good at it. He's not good at left guard, but he is a center. He is definitely a center for sure. So likely we will see Brett Toth this Monday night against the Green Bay Packers. I'm not too concerned about that. And that's not to say Brett Toth is as good as Cam Jurgens, because he's not. But Brett Toth, who's being insulated by Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen and Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Jeff Stoutland coaching him, Saquon Barkley at running back, he's insulated very well. So Brett Toth should be fine. He should be fine. But expect Micah Parsons and those boys to get creative in their fronts, and you may see Micah Parsons lined up over the center. You may. All right. Also, Adoree Jackson, who's been dealing with a concussion all week, he was limited, and he missed practice yesterday because of a personal matter, but he was a full participant today. So Adoree Jackson supposedly is fully healthy. Saquon Barkley, who's been dealing with a groin, and A.J. Brown, who missed the Week 8 game against the New York Giants, he was dealing with a hamstring. So Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown, they're good to go as well. They're both playing. They had ample time to get right. A.J.'s been on ice for at least 2 to 3 weeks, something like that. So A.J. should be good to go. Saquon Barkley, he tweaked that groin in the fourth quarter of that Giants game, but they pretty much put him on ice, and he said he could have kept playing, but they were up by so much they just kept it cute. So Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown should be good to go. Moro Ojomo, who suffered a concussion, and Jacorian Bennett, who was on IR with the pec injury, they're good to go as well. Moro Ojomo was a full participant, and Jacorian Bennett full participant as well. So your cornerback room is fully healthy, right? Remember, Quinyon Mitchell was dealing with the hamstring in that first Giants matchup, and he played fully in the Vikings game and played fully in the second Giants game. So he's trending in the right direction. He also had time to get right during the bye week. Landon Dickerson, another guy who had time to get right during the bye week. Jalen Carter, another guy who's been dealing with a heel, dealing with a shoulder. You know what I mean? Nolan Smith, right? Really big deal to get Nolan Smith back at this time, at this stretch, right? There's no better time to get Nolan Smith back, especially with the addition of Jaelan Phillips. And that takes me right to one of my main talking points here for for this afternoon. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. I appreciate the love and the support. We got over 120 people tuned in. Let's get those numbers up, you guys. Smash that like button and make sure you guys are subscribed. We only got 100. We only got 35 likes. The math not mathing. So with 130 people being in the building, we need 130 likes. It's just that simple. So make sure you guys do your job. So I want to hone in on this Eagles defensive line because with Nolan Smith coming back, right? Your edge rusher room now looks like this. Jaelan Phillips, who you traded for. You sent the 3rd round pick to the Miami Dolphins to get Jaelan Phillips in the building. You got Jaelan Phillips, Nolan Smith. So right there, just those 2 names alone, that's a very talented group, extremely talented. And frankly, I expect Nolan Smith to come out with his hair on fire. Same thing with Jaelan Phillips. The amount of enthusiasm that Jaelan Phillips has expressed being in probably his most successful situation, right? He's been with the Miami Dolphins his entire career, and they haven't won much. They haven't been to the playoffs much. I think they only had maybe 1 playoff performance, maybe 2 playoff appearances, something like that. He's lost significantly more than he's won in Miami and had to deal with a lot of dysfunction. So for him to come to a situation, Jaelan Phillips, that is, for Jaelan Phillips to come to a situation where there's stability at quarterback, there's stability on the offensive line, there's stability in the coaching ranks, there's stability amongst your peers and coaching staff, nutritionists, and the front office, ownership, like there's stability. There's stability, and also they're winning. You're playing with guys that are talented. You're playing with guys that are no nonsense. You're playing with grown men, right? Jalen Hurts, that's a grown man. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, that's a grown man, right? BG, who came back, right? Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, those grown men, those like Zach Baun, N'Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis, like those are grown men. Jalen Carter, like, has some maturity issues that he battles with, but that's a grown man. You dealing with guys that ultimately understand what's at stake, and you're dealing with guys who ultimately know why they're playing the game. They know what they're in this for. They know what the expectation is in Philadelphia. So Jaelan Phillips to be traded to this situation, you pair him with Nolan Smith, right? Then you got Jalen Hunt, Brandon Graham coming in, probably going to give you between 10 to 12 snaps a game. Right? You got Josh Uche, who's been getting a ton of pressure, just hasn't gotten home much. He should have got that strip sack on Jackson Dart, but they called it an incomplete pass. I disagree. But Jaelan Phillips, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, Jalen Hunt, Josh Uche, that's your 5. Now, Azeez Ojulari is currently on IR with the hamstring. We'll see what that looks like. If Azeez Ojulari is outplaying Uche or if Azeez is outplaying Brandon Graham, like, you're going to see a situation where probably when Azeez Ojulari gets healthy, which is going to be to the end of the season, he'll be coming back at the perfect time. He'll have fresh legs, and you'll be able to get creative with your rotations. And Fangio has proven that he is very capable of diagnosing who deserves to be on the field and when they deserve to be on the football field. Vic Fangio and how he handled the Philadelphia Eagles playoff run last season was remarkable. When N'Kobe Dean went down, he didn't hesitate. Oren Burks, you're in. He didn't go with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And also, that's no slight on Trotter. That's no slight on Trotter Jr. Fangio had to decide, do I go with the vet and Oren Burks? Or do I go with the young guy we've been developing in Trotter Jr., the rookie? So he decided to go with Oren Burks. And Oren Burks stabilized the position for the remainder of the playoffs, right? When it came to the pass rush group, the edge rushers, your rotation was Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, and who else was on that edge? Who else was on that edge? I can't remember. I'm curious now. It's wrecking my brain. Let's see. Eagles archives. All right, let's see. All right. Okay, yeah. Okay, so all right, yeah, edge rushers was Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, and Jaelan Hunt. By the way, Bryce Huff didn't get any snaps in the playoffs, really. Barely got snaps in the playoffs. Fangio decided to go with BG. Well, BG came back for the Super Bowl, but he had a three-man rotation between Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, and Jaelan Hunt. He had a three-man rotation. And he got creative with Moro Ojomo, got creative with Milton Williams and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. Bryce Huff became unplayable. So again, I trust Fangio to put the right combination of guys on the field down the stretch. If Aziz is on the field come playoff time and BG's not on it, or if BG's on the field and Patrick Johnson's not on it, or Josh Uche, like however it's got to go, like it has to go. But you have enough bullets in the gun now. And Jaelan Phillips pushes a B level group, a B minus C plus group to a B plus A minus group for sure. Let's just call it what it is. Let's not even play around with it. And also, by the way, good point, Costa. Like, that's a good point. Oh, I'm sorry, not Costa. Mike is right. You had Zack Baun who dropped down as a pass rusher as well. So they were able to get creative. But your edge rusher group, Jaelan Phillips, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, Jaelan Hunt, Josh Uche. And then when Aziz Ojulari comes back, Jaelan Phillips, again, he turned a C plus group from a production standpoint. He potentially could turn a C plus group into a B plus A minus group because of what he can do for everybody else. That's something we got to keep in mind. And we got to take our feelings out of that one. No matter how we feel about Jaelan Hunt, no matter how we feel about Nolan or how we feel about BG or Uche or Ojulari, the reality is they weren't getting much production from the edge in terms of sacks. They were getting pressure, but they weren't getting enough sacks. So they needed help there. Most of the sacks this season has come from the interior or from Zack Baun. Now, Jaelan Phillips, this new look Eagles D-line has an opportunity here. Has an opportunity to go crazy in Green Bay. I didn't even mention Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Byron Young, Ty Robinson. The D tackle room is deep. Always has been. Jalen Carter is getting healthier. Jalen Carter is starting to come on. Jordan Davis has been playing well all year. Moro Ojomo has been playing well all year. You get the combination of all these guys, Jaelan Hunt's recent ascension the past couple games with a pick six and, a sack and getting the pressure. BG bringing that spark off the bench with 10 to 15, 10 to 12 snaps a game, depending on the situation, depending on the down and distance. I cannot wait to see the stunts that we're going to see between Jalen Carter and Jaelan Phillips, or the Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter stunts, or the Jaelan Phillips, Moro Ojomo stunts, or the Jaelan Phillips, Jordan Davis stunts, the Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis stunts. We have versatility. We have optionality with this defensive front now. And both Nolan and Jaelan Phillips are guys that are going to have to be creative and rush from both sides. We have something emerging here in Philadelphia. Something's emerging. And Jaelan Phillips may have been the final ingredient. He may have been the final ingredient. So Fangio was going to do everything. He's going to do everything right to get the right guys on the field. And also, this next stretch of games is going to tell us everything about this front. And also, Green Bay's offensive line has not been playing well. So you can probably catch them lacking. As a matter of fact, I think Green Bay is dealing with injuries on the interior. I think they're dealing with injuries all over the place on that defensive line. Let me see here. So, all right. Lucas Van Ness is out. He's a defensive end. Matthew Golden is questionable. He's considered day-to-day with a shoulder injury, so it's a chance he may start. They're dealing with injuries at wide receiver between Sivion Williams and Malik Heath. All right, Dontavion Wicks has been limited with a calf. Christian Watson has been limited with a knee. But now they got injuries on the interior with Aaron Banks, guard, he's questionable with a neck injury, right? Zach Tom, questionable with a back. He's been limited. So they're dealing with their own fair share of injuries. Micah Parsons has been dealing with that pec. He's been limited. Now, I know we're going to see all these guys. We're going to see Quay Walker, who's limited as well. We're going to see Edgerrin Cooper has been limited. We're going to see all these guys. But I think the Eagles D-line can take advantage of some things with that Packers offensive line. That Packers offensive line hasn't been fantastic. But Jordan Love, because he gets the ball out, he's only been sacked 11 times on a season, which is really, really good. That's really good. He's done a good job at evading the pressure for sure. And he's not having a terrible season, but when it comes to these, there's three games on the schedule that they should have never lost. They should have never lost to Cleveland. They shouldn't have lost to Carolina. They shouldn't have lost to Dallas. Nonetheless, I can't wait to see the stunts. I can't wait to see the stunts in the creative ways. Jaelan Phillips and Jalen Carter good after the quarterback and all these other guys that I've mentioned already. I can't wait. All right, let's see here. Mike is right, says the whole defense is going to have a field day. Bruh. I think they're going to eat. I really do. Costa is calling a Cooper DeJean pick 6. I love it. Stizzy Jenkins says, can we get 40 sacks over the last 9 games? Oof. That's an average of about 4 to 5 sacks a game. Yeah. That's an average about 4 to 5 sacks a game, man. That'll be tough. That will be tough. But I will say this, though. Keep this in mind. The Philadelphia Eagles last season, they weren't one of the highest ranked teams in terms of sack totals. We gotta keep that in mind too, y'all. The Eagles were not at the top of the league when it comes to sack totals. Let me see if I can get this right here. So, all right, when it came to sacks, the Philadelphia Eagles were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15th. The Eagles were 15th in the league in sacks last year. 15th. And they had a grand total of 41 sacks on the year. 41. Like, we got to put that in perspective. The Eagles did what they did last year and was ranked 15. They were middle of the pack. They were middle of the pack when it came to getting sacks on the quarterback. 15th in the league last year. They had 41. Stitchy Jenkins says we got hella pressure. We did. We got hella pressure and we forced turnovers because of it. MJS says Nakobe Dean against the run is like a missile shooting through that line. I'm glad you brought that up. Because that brings me to other things I want to talk about with you guys when it comes to this Eagles defense, who I believe can make a statement this Monday against the Green Bay Packers. Remember, the Green Bay Packers is a team that the Eagles know very well, at least over the past year or two, right? The Philadelphia Eagles faced off against the Packers twice last season. They faced off against them in week 1, and they faced off against them during the wild card round. So it's so fascinating that the Eagles started Green Bay season and the Eagles ended Green Bay season last year. So I know Green Bay has a lot to prove. Green Bay probably feels like they could have performed way better in that game in the wild card. They probably feel like if it wasn't for injuries, they would have fared better. There's so many ifs and buts and coulda, woulda, shouldas when it comes to Green Bay last season. But overall, we kicked their ass. The Eagles kicked their ass. The closest they got to beating this was week 1. And once the Eagles got the lead for the most part, they never gave it back, right? Green Bay had opportunities to blow the Eagles out the water in week 1, and that Eagles defense stepped up in the red zone. And overall, that Eagles team forced them to field goals. And the Eagles ultimately did what they did. They won the game, right? But Green Bay, they probably got a chip on their shoulder, I'm sure, especially losing to us twice last year, and you just lost to the Panthers. It's a lot of emotions in that building right now, I'm sure. But I also believe those emotions can get the better of them. I believe that it's entirely possible you may see Jordan Love play his worst game on Monday. Entirely possible. Is it far-fetched? Is it wishful thinking? Maybe. But I just think Jordan Love, I just feel like Jordan Love presses in dire situations. He presses. And he's a guy that just gets flustered. And I think the Eagles can take advantage of that. I really, really do. But again, in mentioning Nakobe Dean, right, it makes you think about the linebacker crew, because Nakobe Dean has been a guy that since he's come back, his snaps have begun to increase, and Jihaad Campbell's snaps have kind of went down a bit, right? And this is, it's a little too early to call this a trend, because we only have a 3-game sample size with this. And Nakobe Dean's first game back was on the road against the Giants, and he only played on special teams. Then his second game back was on the road against Minnesota. In that game, Nakobe Dean had 31 snaps compared to Jihaad Campbell's 60 snaps. So Jihaad Campbell essentially doubled the amount of snaps Nakobe Dean had against the Vikings. Nakobe Dean was on the field for 45% of the snaps. Jihaad Campbell was on the field for 87% of the snaps. But then you get to that Giants game, the most recent one in week 8. Nakobe Dean had 33 snaps on defense. Jihaad Campbell had 21 snaps. Now, granted, they were blowing them out, so they started putting the backups in towards the end of the fourth quarter, so towards midway, towards the end of the fourth quarter. And the snap counts are down just overall for both players, but Nakobe Dean having 33 snaps, being on the field 63% of the time compared to Jihaad Campbell's 21 snaps, which is 40% of the time, that said something. That said something. And the last time the Eagles played the Giants, they got ran on. Nakobe Dean comes back for the second Giants game. They can't get ran on. Granted, Scatterbo got hurt, but Nakobe Dean, his instincts, what stands out about Nakobe Dean in comparison to Jihaad Campbell is the difference in play recognition instincts. And that's something that was talked about when it comes to Jihaad Campbell when he was being scouted. His talent, his ability is unquestionable. But sometimes his instincts can lag a bit when it comes to play recognition, when it comes to deciphering pass from run. And that's where Nakobe Dean thrives. Nakobe Dean has been thriving the past couple weeks, especially in run fits, especially on early downs. So that's not to say that, Jihaad Campbell all of a sudden is a lesser player. No, that's not what I'm saying here. I hope that doesn't come off that way. Jihaad Campbell is a rookie. He's a young player. He's played extremely well for his circumstances, right? He's insulated by a bunch of guys who know what they're doing, like a Quinyon, like a Coop, like a Zack Baun, and that front, right? He's insulated by talented guys. But we all know what Nakobe Dean and Zack Baun were able to accomplish last season, what they did with how good they were playing. I think the Eagles continue to dominate if Nakobe Dean stays healthy, right? Nakobe Dean was playing so well, and for him to go down in that wild card round was unfortunate. But I digress. Nakobe Dean has more experience than Jihaad Campbell. Again, this is no indictment. Nakobe Dean just had to stay healthy. And Nakobe Dean was actually pretty good in coverage last year, but Jihaad just takes it to a whole nother level with his range, with his length, with his raw athleticism. Jihaad Campbell was just a better prospect, a better athlete. But Nakobe has an edge on him in certain respects, which is garnering Nakobe to get these snaps ahead of Jihaad. So we'll see how this pans out. this is something that's going to be fluid. Clearly, I'm sure it's going to be situational. I'm sure it's going to be based off of what the offense is doing to you and who's faring better against those circumstances. So it's going to be circumstantial. I think there's going to be games where Jihaad has more snaps. There's going to be games where Nakobe has more snaps, and I think it's going to be, and I think it's going to be based solely on, hey, what's the identity of this team we're facing today, right? Are they really leaning on this run game? Okay, Nakobe. Okay, are they a passing team? Hey, Jihaad. So, and again, down in distance. It all varies. But I think the Eagles are in a phenomenal situation. It's a good problem to have, especially when you got Zack Baun playing at the level he's playing at. Zack Baun can probably be a Pro Bowl. Let's be honest, he's going to be a Pro Bowler this year. He likely will be an All Pro this year again. He's been one of the best linebackers in football, and it goes without question. So, Nakobe, Jihaad, great problem to have. But I just think it's going to be circumstantial. And it's going to vary based off the opponent, based off what they're showing, based on what the opponent is showing the Eagles that day. I think the snap counts for those guys is going to be fluid all year long. But it's going to be similar to what we saw against the Giants. It's going to be close like that. You're going to see situations where, hey, maybe Jihaad has 10 more or 15 more snaps than Nakobe. Maybe Nakobe has 10 or 15 more snaps more than Jihaad, right? It all varies. But I like the situation the Eagles are in when it comes to the linebacker position. So we've discussed the front. We've discussed the linebacker position. Again, they can make a statement. They can make a statement this week against this Packers team. So far, let's keep this thing going. We've discussed D-line. We've discussed this, the linebackers. Let's get to the secondary, right? I think the secondary is probably going to have the most eyes on it for obvious reasons. You traded for Jaire Alexander. You traded for Michael Carter II, right? And it does give you some versatility. It gives you some optionality based off of if either player works out or not, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we see situations where we see a package that has Quinyon Mitchell, Jaire Alexander, and Cooper DeJean on the inside, right? Quinyon and Jaire Alexander on the outside, Cooper DeJean on the inside. That's one package we could probably see. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a package where you see Cooper DeJean and Quinyon on the outside and Michael Carter II on the inside. And it may just solely be based off of who's playing the best. It may be based off of just trying to experiment and see how it pans out. We're going to see Fangio deploy both of those packages in the middle of a game. It may be on a series by series basis, right? This is another situation that's very fluid, very fluid. Because you still got Keely Ringo, you still got Adoree Jackson, who's healthy now, and we've seen, in my opinion, we've seen all we need to see from Keely Ringo. We've seen all we need to see from Adoree Jackson. Now it's time for you don't trade for these guys to put them on the bench, right? You trade for these guys to find out what they can provide you. And there's no better situation is against Green Bay, right? Jaire Alexander's former team. Now it may depend also on Vic Fangio's confidence in putting those guys out there. They just traded for him, right? How quickly do they pick up the scheme? How quickly do they pick up the lingo and their responsibilities? But overall, I think you trade for Jaire Alexander. You want to find out if he can play. So you're gonna put him out there first drive. You traded for Michael Carter II. You want to find out, all right, can he play? I think you may see a series where Jaire's on the outside at nickel. Then you may see a series where Michael Carter II is on the inside in nickel. But one thing for sure, and two things are for certain, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are not leaving the football field. If the Eagles are in base, you're going to see Quinyon and Coop on the outside. But when they go in nickel, I'm telling you, you're going to see Jaire Alexander on that outside for a series or so, depending on how well he's playing. And you may see Michael Carter II on the inside in the nickel, depending on how well he's playing. And trading for both Jaire and trading for Michael Carter II, trading for both of those players gives them versatility and gives them options. Howie Roseman is simply just hedging his bet. He's hedging his bet. He basically told you, if your name not Quinyon, if your name not Coop, I don't trust you. So I think all eyes are going to be on this Eagles secondary. Again, big opportunity. I'm looking at the standings right now, and the Eagles are the number one team in the NFC. Number one team in the NFC. Simple as that. The Eagles are the number one team in the NFC. The Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, in my opinion, very beatable. Don't scare me. The division is imploding on itself. The Giants are 2-7. The Commanders are 3-6. The Cowboys are 3-5-1. You're 6-2. The division is wrapped up. All you gotta do is just keep doing what you do. They're not going to be able to catch up. They're not. They buried themselves too deep into a hole. Now your sole focus is playoff positioning, seeding. Can you get that number one seed? Can you claim home field advantage throughout the playoffs? That's how I'm looking at it. The moves they made on defense shows that this Eagles team is gearing up for a run. They're gearing up. They're gearing up for a run. And I can't wait to see where it goes. All right, let me read some of your comments here, and then we're going to start to close out the show. I appreciate y'all for locking in on the show as well, man. You're fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's see. YMF Link says, we just got to win. Facts, bro. I agree with you. This is a situation where you got to just win. We just win. Because once the playoffs, who cares about stats? Who cares about numbers? Once the playoffs start, now it's just about just winning. Stacey Jenkins says the 6 games is the magic number to win the division. He has 6 more games. 6 more wins. I agree 100%. Kyle Kokorski says the Rams are the closest thing. Yeah, the Rams, they're 6-2 as well. Listen, the Eagles are 6-2. The Buccaneers are 6-2. Seattle, Green Bay, the Rams. All those teams only have 2 losses. Now, Green Bay, they got a tie in there. But San Fran has 6 wins. The Rams have 6 wins. Green Bay has 5 wins. Tampa has 6 wins. Seattle has 6 wins. The Eagles have 6 wins. Detroit has 5 wins. Chicago has 5 wins. Carolina has 5 wins, right? Like, I don't mean no harm. I think Tampa Bay is going to win their division, but they better hope Carolina don't go on a little run here. Miss Ash Bird Gang says we should remain the number 1 seed or the number 1 team after Monday. We should. I mean, the Eagles have gotten crucial wins against the Rams and against the Buccaneers. Those were big wins. And you beat the Vikings, a team that's 10th in seeding, but they're a team that can sneak into the playoffs. So you've gotten, and also remember the Vikings, they beat Detroit. And the Vikings are always going to play Detroit tough. They're always going to play Green Bay tough. They're always going to play Chicago tough. And it just so happens the top teams right now that are really threatening the Eagles are the NFC North teams, right? NFC North and NFC West. Seattle 6-2, Rams 6-2, 49ers 6-3, Detroit 5-3, Chicago 5-3, right? Green Bay 5-2-1. The NFC West and the NFC North are the ones that are in the way. I think the NFC West and the NFC North can cannibalize each other. And because the Eagles have gotten crucial wins over the Rams, over the Bucs already, I think they're going to beat the Packers. I think the Eagles are going to beat the Lions as well, and I think they're going to beat the Bears. So when you think about it from that perspective, the Eagles hold the keys. The Eagles hold the keys. This conference, if there's any team that controls the outcome of this conference, it's the Eagles. Think about what I just said. The Eagles have already gotten a win over the Rams. They've already beaten the Buccaneers. So no matter what happens between Tampa Bay and the Rams, if we got the same record, we win the tiebreaker. The Eagles win the tiebreaker. So Tampa Bay and the Rams, they're going to win games. They're going to keep pace. But regardless, the Eagles own the tiebreaker over them. So now you get to Seattle. You get to Green Bay, who you play on Monday. You get to San Fran. You get to Detroit, who you play in Week 11. You get to Chicago. Detroit, Chicago, and Green Bay, they're going to cannibalize each other. Seattle, the Los Angeles Rams, San Fran, they're going to cannibalize each other. That the NFC, we need the NFC West. And remember, the Arizona Cardinals, even though their record is terrible, Jacoby Brissett got those boys playing a little better. I think the entire conference rests on what the Eagles do. You beat Detroit and Green Bay, all you got to do is just keep winning. If you beat Detroit and Green Bay, you can write your own ticket if you're Philadelphia. And I'm sure they know that, but I'm also sure they're taking this on a game-by-game basis, which they should. Sweet Chin Music says, Seattle makes me a little uncomfortable because we haven't beaten them since I was 25. I'm 42. Look, man, their quarterback is still Sam Darnold. I don't care what anybody says. Sam Darnold Sam Darnold may have everybody else convinced. He ain't got me convinced. I'm sorry. He's putting up fantastic numbers. I will not take that away from him. Sam Darnold is putting up fantastic production. Jackson Smith and Jigba is playing phenomenally. But I'm sorry. Sam Darnold can't fool me. Same thing with Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones is playing well for now. He's coming off of probably one of the worst games he's played in a long time, but 5 turnovers from Daniel Jones, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost, right? Can he recover from that? Can Daniel Jones put that game behind him and not press and not start to have imposter syndrome? Yeah, that's possible. Daniel Jones, imposter syndrome, coming off a 5 turnover game, a game where you were the favorite, and the way that team's been playing. If you're Daniel Jones, you're saying to yourself, oh, just don't fuck it up. Just don't fuck it up. And that mindset can get you waxed in the playoffs. Sam Darnold, same thing. We know who Sam Darnold really is. We saw those last 2 playoff games. We saw those last 2 or 3. We saw those last 2 or 3 games of the season where, he just looked awful. He looked awful those final 2 games of the year. I don't buy Sam Darnold. I don't buy him. I'm not fooled. MJS says, when it comes to the playoffs, I don't think Sam Darnold has Sam Darnold convinced. Look, they added Rashid Shaheed. So Jackson Smith, the Jigba, Rashid Shaheed, they got weapons over there. They're productive over there. They got one of the best defenses in football. They're playing well. But I'm telling you, get out while you can. YMF Link says the playoffs go through Philly. They sure do, bro. Let's see. J Riz says Jaelan Phillips is going to knock Love out, bro. Jaelan Phillips, Jalen Carter. Take your pick. Take your pick. Jordan Love, and he's not fast, by the way. Jordan Love is not a fast guy. He can sneak off for maybe a quick 5-10 yard gain if you're not paying attention. He can definitely catch you, but he's not a fast dude. He's tall, he has long arms, but he's not a fast guy. He can probably hold off a sack before he got run a sack. Let's see. Moves Brown. He says we didn't pick up Jaire Campbell in the first round to be depth. They picked him up to replace Nakobe. I'm not denying that. Obviously, it's Jaire Campbell is the guy who has the higher ceiling. That's a fact. That's not a debate, Brown. That's not a debate at all. The conversation was simply about who do you want on the field in certain situations? Who plays the best in certain situations? Who handles the run better? Who can diagnose the plays better or quicker? Let's say quicker. Let's not say better. Let's just say quicker. Who's diagnosing the play? Who can diagnose the plays quicker? And I think, again, we don't have a large enough sample size to say either way, but I think it was pretty obvious the difference when Nakobe does provide in the run game in particular. I also think it's obvious of what Jihaad Campbell provides from a pass coverage standpoint. Jihaad Campbell, the measurables, the raw athleticism, the talent, the length, he does things in coverage that Nakobe Dean just can't do because of the size and the limitations athletically. So Jihaad Campbell has tools in the toolbox that Nakobe Dean can't even begin to even comprehend. And Nakobe Dean, he has tools in the toolkit that Jihaad Campbell just hasn't gotten yet. But here's the thing, right? I think what Nakobe Dean has can be learned and picked up from Jihaad. I think what Jihaad Campbell has can't be picked up from Nakobe. Can't be picked up by Nakobe, excuse me. Jihaad Campbell can pick up on what Nakobe does. Nakobe Dean, he can't do what Jihaad Campbell can do. There are just physical limitations. So I'm not trying to say here, I hope this wasn't misconstrued moves, or I'm not saying that Jihaad Campbell is going to be depth. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they have a good problem on their hands and they have options. And they got guys that can do both things at a high level. But one of those guys does that thing a little bit better than the other guy. So I hope I broke that down as well as I could. Shout out to my man Moves Brown for supporting the channel, man. I appreciate you. Let's see here. Costa says it would be crazy if Daniel Jones came out of the AFC, bro. That would be gnarly. Can you imagine a Super Bowl, Eagles, Colts? It'll be the New York Giants garbage bowl because they threw Daniel Jones away. They threw Saquon Barkley away. that would be hilarious. TDK, also known as Sweet Chin Music, he says, I think with all the linebacker and edge options, we're going to see Vic getting his bag calling the defense. I agree 100%. That's a good point by you. Brandon Lewis, he says, who remembers when AJ Feely scrub ass threw 4 picks against Seattle? Oh my God. Remember AJ Feely, man. Don't get me started. Stizzy Jenkins says, Nakobe Dean will play base, Jihaad will play nickel. That's possible. It's possible. You may see both Jihaad and Nakobe on the field in base. Let's see here. YMF Link says the NFC West is a dogfight. It is. It is. Even with the Cardinals not being their best self right now, I think the Cardinals can beat any one of those teams. They can catch them. Maybe not the Rams, but I think the Cardinals can upset any one of those teams in that division just because of the familiarity. Let's see. D. Reddick says Jihaad Campbell was definitely the better coverage linebacker on the team. Yeah, he is. Him and Zach Baun are up there. Him and Zach Baun are what they're able to accomplish in coverage is remarkable. We got over 170 people tuned into the live stream. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are locked in. Again, we got over 170 people watching. We only got 89 likes. We got to get them likes up, man. We got to get to 150 likes or something. We got to get to 150. We got to get to 200. We got to do whatever we can to get those likes up, man. The math not math, and we got 181 in the building, 90 likes. Let's get these likes up. All right, let's see where we at here. All right. We've been live for almost an hour, about 50 minutes, about 50, 55 minutes to be exact. Kyle Kokorski says, I don't buy the Packers' run defense. They soft as tissue paper. Listen, man, I don't buy the Packers as a whole. I don't buy the Packers at all. I don't buy Detroit. Why should I? Because people tell me to? Because people can show me stats and analytics that say, oh, yeah, you're supposed to have this team as one of the final teams in the playoffs. It's possible. I do think Detroit is going to be in the mix in the playoffs. I think Detroit can beat anybody, but they can lose to anybody. I think Green Bay can beat anybody, but they can lose to anybody. You know, some people may feel the exact same way about the Eagles. They can beat anybody, but they can lose to anybody. But here's the difference. The Eagles have built up equity. The Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champions. They've been doing this for 3 or 4 consecutive seasons, being in the mix. 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years. A Super Bowl win. 2 NFC championship trophies. A Super Bowl MVP quarterback. Okay, yeah, people may feel how I feel about the Lions, about the Eagles, right? People may say, hey, well, the Eagles can lose to anybody, Tone. We've seen it. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Broncos, who aren't looking very explosive right now. Granted, the Giants beat the Chargers. They went toe-to-toe with the Broncos as well. But the Broncos, they're 8-2. I don't think their record is indicative of how they've been playing, but regardless, if you're the Eagles, or if you're looking at the field in your conference, Green Bay, Detroit, Tampa, LA Rams, your division is cooked. Seattle. Okay. All right. With all due respect, I'm not just going to follow the trends. I'm not just going to follow the trends and fear who they say we should fear. I'm not going to look at Seattle and just give them instant respect. I'm not going to look at Detroit, who's blown leads, blown opportunities in the playoffs, blown a 17-point lead in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. Got embarrassed at home. By the Washington Commanders, a team that's awful right now. Green Bay losing to San Fran in the playoffs a couple years ago. Losing to the Philadelphia Eagles the way they did. Not showing up. Tampa Bay losing to that Washington team. That's a fact. So, because they say so, I should look at Detroit and Green Bay and be like, oh, nah, I'm not. Sorry. I'm not. I don't believe them. They got to put up or shut up. That's how I view it. Some of you may say, Tone, that's a little delusional. You got your Eagles colored glasses on. I don't think so. I think I'm just practicing independent thought. Why do I have to look at the Rams? Not even the Rams, because the Rams got equity too. The Rams have won the Super Bowl with that head coach and with that quarterback. So I can't even – the Rams, they're not even included in this conversation, really. As a matter of fact, if it's any team that gets my respect in the NFC, it's the Rams. I give it to the Rams. I'll give the Rams my respect because they've done it with that quarterback, with that head coach. They've done it. But Green Bay, they haven't done it with that head coach, with that quarterback. Tampa, they haven't done it with that head coach and that quarterback. I'm just being honest about it. Detroit, they haven't done it with that coach and that quarterback. Seattle, right? Minnesota, Chicago. I look at the Rams and I say, respect. But I have no issues with looking at Detroit and looking at Green Bay like they're food. They're food. They're traffic cones. They're just in the way. They're simple detours, but don't worry. The Eagles will get back on track, back on road. Simple. They're just in the way. That's all. All right. That's pretty much our show today, you guys. Your Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, have a massive opportunity in front of them against the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football, especially this defense. You added Jaelan Phillips. You added Jaire Alexander and Michael Carter II to your defenses. All eyes are going to be on those players, especially the secondary. We got a super chat here by my man Green Wingman. Thank you for the super chat, Greeny. He says 17-10 Eagles in a defensive bout. Also, have you seen Preacher Badlands yet? Fantastic. Oh, Predator Badlands yet? Fantastic. I haven't watched it yet. I need to get to the movie sometime this weekend, but I haven't seen it yet. Predator Badlands, I can't wait. I've been waiting for this movie all year, right? I'm a huge Predator fan, right? We don't acknowledge The Predator, though. The Predator was a terrible movie, but Predator 2, Predators with Adrian Brody and Lawrence Fishburne and Topher Grace, that was a good one, right? Alien versus Predator 1, very good. The Predator and Alien versus Predator 2, remarkable, right? Prey, I love it. I love it, man. I love what Dan Trachtenberg has done. Predator, killer of killers. I love what they've done with the franchise. I love what they've done with the Alien franchise. I love what they've done with the Predator franchise. I love that they're starting to cross those boundaries again. You know, we're seeing the Weyland-Yutani synthetics appearing yet again in the Predator franchise. So I just love how Dan Trachtenberg is continuing to bleed or blend those needles. I love how he's continuously using history as a way to tell the story of the existence of the Yautja throughout human existence. I absolutely love what Dan Trachtenberg has done. Taking us back to the colonial era, you know where the French were beginning to colonize the Americas and the Native Americans, right? Taking us back there, taking us back to feudal Japan, samurai era, taking us back to World War II, taking us to back to the era of Vikings, taking us back to Vietnam era commandos, right? Taking us to the gritty streets of New York and Predator 2. Taking us on an archaeological journey in Alien versus Predator. Right? They've given us a lot. Taking us to a safari zone in Predators with Adrian Brody and just seeing how culture, like we've seen the Predator movies go through a cultural evolution and explaining how all this stuff connects, man. And I love it, man. I'm a big fan of the Predator franchise. But yeah, you guys got me going down a rabbit hole. Nonetheless, though, that's our show. I appreciate the love and the support. You guys have been phenomenal as always. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the hype button as well, and make sure the notification bell is hit. You know, you guys are fantastic as always. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. You guys have been locked in on Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game.